Welcome to this special edition of this show in collaboration with TV5 and manatv, in collaboration with Asian American Republican Coalition, popularly known as ARC. Today we have in the guests, we are in the studio. Basically the whole thing is about a lot of criminal investigations and immigration fears. I'm Sridhar Chillara, I'm the host. I have Sanja, the co-host today. We are going to be hosting because of my dual nature of ARC National President as well as the host of the show. I'll be hosting as well as she will be co-hosting. Today, if you look at the fears of immigration, it is affecting thousands of students, thousands of employees, foreign employees, whether they're on the F1 visa or H1 visa or L1 visa, L2 visa or H4 EAD visa or OPT visa, CPTs or any visa, they are here in this country. They are in the fears. Actually, this immigration fear, or this is in the highest peak level of this era of this country, including our former President Donald Trump. He was the victim of all this, problems created by people. So coming back to the point today is, we have a lot of fears, and the fears, we're not going to be aggravating the fears. We are going to be providing the solutions by the expert panel, the distinguished sharp-mind attorneys there in our studios today, along with Mr. Hemant Bhatt, ARC founder and chairman, and me, including Sridhar Chillara, national president, and the introduction of our sharpest minds, the attorneys who are going to be talking about criminal and immigration matters, the whole focus of the show. We will come to know more about them, what are the things are happening, why the country, these issues are shaping up the policies of this country to the highest level. We'll go into the depth. Sanja, please go ahead and into the guests.
Here we have two top legal experts and two visionary community leaders to share their real life insights and guide our viewers. So here we have Mr. Ehsan F. Chowdhury Esquire, distinguished legal expert and former president of the NJ Muslim Lawyers Association. And here we have Anuj Sharma Esquire, founder of a Sharma law firm, PLLC, a reputed name in a criminal and immigration law. And we have Mr. Hemant Bhatt, a founder and chairman of AARC, a pioneer in immigrant rights and civic empowerment. He is Republican Committeeman, Ward 4, District 6 in Middlesex County, New Jersey, was a member of a Indian Voices of Trump, formed by Trump campaign in 2020 presidential elections for President Donald J. Trump, attended and organized many events campaigning for President Trump's elections in 2015, 2020, and 2024, and other Republican Party's candidates, governors, and participated in fundraising. He is founder and chairman of ARC, Asian American Republican Coalition, working for Republican Party since 2015.
So welcome to our panel. We know that pretty much we are talking today is the criminal investigation and immigration, the utmost topic. I know that you are the authority on that. So let's start with Anuj, you please go ahead. What do you think that is the country is facing, and is it the need of the hour? Based on your expertise, what problems the international community or students are facing?
Right. So I would like to go in the background of this whole scenario first of all.
Yes.
All right. So what's happening today is it's not new. First of all. Okay?
Yes.
In 1996, Bill Clinton signed a bill. Okay. This was called IIRA, which means Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigration Responsibility Act. Okay. At that time, Clinton wanted to curb the illegal immigration at the borders. He wanted to make sure that our home country is safe from these criminals. And then, of course, the judicial system has some way to capture these illegal immigrants who are, basically getting charged or criminally convicted. So that's when it started, basically. And now what's happening now is it's just being enforced more aggressively.
That's what many people are saying.
Correct.
These laws were there before.
Exactly.
Nobody was paying.
Correct.
Because they themselves were manufacturing and producing the illegal people here.
Absolutely.
That's why they were silent on that.
Correct.
So it was a dormant mode and it has come up on the
Right.
surface.
So that's one act. Now the second act, which we need to talk more importantly, is the Lincoln-Riley Act, which started in January of 2025, which Trump when came and he signed this. This was basically a Venezuelan immigrant, basically illegal guy. He murdered a nursing student in Georgia, 24-year-old, and then Trump signed this bill into act, basically, which will now encompass more crimes. Okay, earlier shoplifting was not a deportable crime. Now shoplifting also is a deportable crime.
Yes.
Because this guy who killed this nursing student, he was cited for shoplifting before, and he was let go away. So then the Congress and the House, they decided to, pass this act, and now even the small criminal acts are getting deportable or inadmissible.
So are you specializing in the criminal law or immigration law?
Immigration law.
Immigration
My
law.
friend Hassan is a
Ishan
certified
Chaudhary, you are the criminal immigration, you're focusing. What challenges, especially for last, recently, ever since Donald Dynamic Trump has taken the power, so many things, fear, like a lot of things are happening. So what is the situation is happening right now?
Well, that's a great question, and thank you for having me on tonight. So we've seen since the inception of this country, 1776, we've come here now in 2025. The problems that we're dealing with are very complex, as Anu just touched upon. And one of the things we have to notice now is that every single person that is here, if they get involved in the criminal justice system, whether at the state level or at the federal level, there's going to be ramifications for them if they're not a United States citizen. We know that because we see it all the time, covered in all aspects of news in our daily life. Number two, again, not to turn the conversation political, but there's some debate going on right now by President Trump about trying to change birthright citizenship, which could be a problem for many people in this country who may have been born in India, Pakistan, the Middle East, wherever, where they became citizens here legally, but that might be challenged now. So from a criminal law perspective, we're sitting in Middlesex County. This is the most South Asian conglomerate in the entire United States. So this is going to affect a lot of people here and our viewership. The reason that's so significant in this day and age is because we are now first and second generations in this country. And our mentality can't be that this cannot happen to our community from a criminal law perspective. I work with people from all 8 South Asian countries on a daily basis. I'm a board certified criminal trial attorney, the only one in the state that's South Asian. And our kids and elders are getting arrested for domestic violence, which triggers having to hire somebody like Anuj, because you're going to have an immigration problem. Somebody who gets arrested for shoplifting at Menlo Park Mall, that happens. You have somebody now who's got a drug problem. Every single day, somebody who might have an alcohol problem and gets a driving while intoxicated. This is causing a complete scramble in the landscape we're facing here today. And the point of this discussion, this is not finger pointing or anywhere, it's a very complicated topic, but our community has to understand the rights that come with you when you get arrested and the consequences. And I'm going to touch about that in greater detail. But for me, every day, one of the first questions I ask every client, I don't care if they're white, black, Indian, whatever, where were you born and are you a United States citizen? My contract says it too, because that alone, somebody might go to jail for 6 months and be okay with it, but if they can't live in America anymore, they'll do anything to save themselves to stay here because they want to still have the American dream and have it be the land of opportunity. So I'll touch upon the specifics in a little bit, but that lays the framework for this conversation.
But the thing is, I would like to touch upon, because a lot of people, I see, our immigrant, especially the students and even the H-1B employees, earlier they used to have a drink and limits, whatever that people they allow, 2 glasses of wine or whatever the limits they got,
Correct.
They give it. Though they're not even taking that even chance, because they say that the moment we are caught, we are deported. So, are these laws were there before, or they're just being enforced right now, or is it a criminal intent involved in that if they're caught?
And it's a very good question. So in New Jersey, you mentioned drunk driving, essentially DWI, which is driving while intoxicated, or DUI, driving under the influence. You might ask what the difference is. DUI could be under the influence of non-alcohol, like certain drugs, pills, prescription
I
or
see.
non-prescription medication.
Yeah.
So what happens is that normally, not normally, for a fact in New Jersey, even though a person can go to jail for drunk driving, it's still considered a traffic offense. However, as Anuj will touch upon, under the Immigration and Nationality Act, certain traffic offenses as well can cause you to be removed. So for example, I had a gentleman a couple weeks ago who was Indian who had a drunk driving charge, and he ended up pleading guilty to it because the facts were overwhelming. And we still got him a very good deal, but he had to consult with an immigration attorney who said, based on these particular facts, you're not going to get deported, right? But it's going to cause a delay in your immigration paperwork. Now, of course, my expertise was on the criminal traffic side, not on the immigration. So we have to make this a joint operation. It's equivalent to going into a hospital, for example, when somebody has a stroke. You're going to need a cardiologist, you're going to need internal med.
Yes.
Right.
Same thing goes with us now. The days of one lawyer or one physician handling this is gone. And for our students, that's particularly troublesome because science has shown that your brain isn't fully developed until age 26. College students, Rutgers, for example, in New Brunswick, kids are between the ages of 18 and 21. We know oftentimes they're going to drink and they're going to make immature mistakes, get behind a wheel. And some of it can have lifelong consequences. In these cases, there could be accidents which turns criminal. So, again, the laws were always on the books for that. The reason everybody is scared now more is because the enforcement has gone
But the
down.
question is why they're only after the students? Why they're going after the foreign students? That's
Okay.
the question.
Right, so today-
Including we are
right.
hearing every day Harvard students, status issue, $3 billion is traded to trading schools.
Right.
So many things are happening around the foreign students.
Right, and again, not to get too political, today Secretary of State Marco Rubio said now they're going after the Chinese international students. That was the head news today, if anybody watched, whether Fox, CNN, whatever.
Yeah.
That was the head news. It's not just the students, it's everybody. And I'll defer
Right.
to Anuj now to speak on that point, because it's everybody.
We will
Right,
come to
so-
Anuj because we have, I understand, we are going to talk about what are the criminal cases could be involved.
Sure, I can give you
Ishan
more.
Chaudhary, yes,
Yeah.
because a lot of people may be thinking, hey, if I do a mistake, that is treated as criminal. If I do this is like any small mistake in immigration, that would fall in the purview of USCIS or Labor Department or any other thing. So we will come back to on that more detail because I understand a lot of people are going under the stress and agony that we are going to be giving you guidance by end of the show. So Anuj, let me ask you a question. Now since you are in the immigration side, a lot of people, students, and even if their future is so uncertain, and there even so many laws are coming up every day, including severe cards or even the STEM extension or STEM could be abolished, or even coming into some schools could qualify to JC. Otherwise, you are not even qualified even for STEM. Even so many things are happening right now.
Right.
So, what is your take, and what are the main, based on your experience, what are the major issues you are seeing?
Okay, so first of all, we have to understand, the background of this whole situation. There are two kinds of, crimes if you do it. If either you are deportable or you are inadmissible. Okay, so deportable if you commit a crime which is of a significant nature, which could get you deported, like a murder or felonious assault, not assault, aggravated assault. And there are crimes which are inadmissible, which means you can still stay in the country, but if you go out, you're not going to be able to enter the country. So these are inadmissible crimes. All right, shoplifting is definitely one of those. So my suggestion to the students is, don't violate the laws. Okay, don't break the laws. I haven't seen a single incident in my experience. I haven't dealt with a single person who, has done nothing and he was picked up by ICE or he was questioned by ICE. But these days, ICE is getting even sneaky. Okay, I have a client who just did nothing but was arrested just because he looked like somebody whom ICE was looking for. Now, ICE wouldn't show him the picture. They would just come to you and we are looking for somebody who looked like you and just pick him up. And the guy's detained. That first court that you get is 2 weeks down the line. There you go. So for the students especially, you said SEVIS. Okay, now they're getting more strict. Okay, you're supposed to, OPT, right?
Yes, of course.
After you complete your master's degree, you get OPT. Okay, before that, if you would not inform SEVIS, you would be okay. That I'm working on this job or I started this job. Now, you have to inform SEVIS right away that I'm working on this job. I started this job on this day, And if you miss a single day now, you are considered as an illegal immigrant. Like every single day, and if that goes 60 days and over, your status goes up in there.
My friend Wopit is who are watching this show, just make a point. You need to update your CV records.
Correct.
Where it is updated, could you want to share any
Yeah, it's just
link?
SEBIS website. There's a
Okay,
yeah,
yes.
DHS has this branch of SEBIS which takes care of the students and international students coming to United States.
And not
basically.
only that, like another problem is, what I'm saying is, even if they are coming into the STEM, especially not the first 1 year especially,
Right.
and if they're not on the payroll of any company for 90 days or something, then again they're subject to going out of status.
Correct.
So
60 days now.
60 days now.
Yes.
Yeah, 60 days. So how do we, address, because the economy on one side is so volatile, as unpredictable. Big people itself are flooded away with the tsunami. How are they going to be? People are coming with American dream. They spent their properties. They sold all their properties, thinking that hey, in our family, one guy will go to USA and will take care of us. They came here and they're facing this problem. How are you, going to be, and but one side is the reality versus, law. I understand. Nobody can break the law.
Correct.
Even they can bend to some extent. But what is your advice?
My one-line answer: there's only so much we could do as attorneys now.
Yes.
Magicians. Okay?
I mean,
There
let's
are
just guide
laws.
them. What should they do?
Do in what situation? Like
In the
if
situation
it
like
past
60
60 days, there's nothing which can help them. Simple as that. Then we have the ways to reinstate the student visa. Basically, we can reinstate the status. That's one part we do. Okay,
So
but
even if they go out of status, you can still
we
reinstate.
can do, but it has certain limits on
Limits
this.
on it, I see.
You shouldn't have any criminal record. First of all, you didn't do anything wrong, and it happened because of any fault of yours. Okay.
The same thing with the H1B also. 60
Correct,
days.
correct,
Not
exactly.
only that, Wopit.
Yes,
Even the
exactly.
H1B are same 60 days.
The USCIS has a lot of discretion. Let me put it this way: they have a lot of discretion to approve or reject these cases.
I see.
Earlier, they were approving most of them. Now they are denying. They are looking for any single reason to deny the petition, to deny the application. Simple as that. So that's the current scenario we live in.
So we will
be very careful, be vigilant. Do your due diligence, and keep on top of everything for the students especially, and do not indulge in any criminal activity. I came to this country 23 years ago on a student visa, and I would never even think of doing anything criminal. Now I see so many Indian students, especially, master students coming up, and somebody's charged with shoplifting, somebody's charged with this and that. Asan would tell you he deals with them
All
right
day.
all the time. And I'm amazed to see, wow, what happened? What's the new generation doing these days? And we were never like that, or we never grew up like that.
Yes, I
And
know.
now all of a sudden this new
Even
generation.
they're changing even their documents. Even they turn into fake things,
Right.
and they're getting jobs. I don't know if they're caught. What would happen to the companies? Their employees, so many people, background checks.
We see
So
it
many
all the
things are
time.
there. Yeah, very
Right, so
dangerous.
if you don't want to have anything bad done to you, don't do anything wrong. Then simple as that.
Yeah.
So we will come to you for the top immigration issues of our foreign, not only students, everybody, immigrant, who has come, whether it's on a legal basis. We are very proud that most of the people, they came on a legal basis. So there is nothing wrong in discussing the problems, so that our sharpest minds are going to give the, possible solutions. Sometimes nothing is in our hands. Sometimes policy, advocacy, so many things come into the play. And I don't know whether they have the advocacy. We'll talk about it. So coming back to,
Can I add one thing
yes,
to
sure.
this whole situation?
Yes.
Difference between the kind of practice he does and what I do. Okay, he does criminal practice. Everything is written. It's coded. Okay, immigration law of United States is the only law in the entire world which is not written. Any president comes, executive order, get a new law.
Yeah.
Every
Yes.
6 months, this law keeps changing. So I deal with a law which keeps changing every 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year.
Yeah.
Before we jump on to you again, we have ARC
Yeah.
chairman is here. I understand that you are a pro-Trump party and pro-Trump person. So let me ask you one thing. Sometimes in elections, a president like a person comes into the power by telling the people, saying that I'm going to eradicate all these illegals. I'm going to do this particular thing. And tomorrow, if government funded Harvard University, and if he's asking some basic information of the foreign students, whatever you have, give me the basic data. Is it something wrong? If anybody has a basic IQ, do we even have to make it like international headlines to really think? I mean, it's such a basic thing. And that too also, if a president of United States is asking, and the university small thing is creating so much of giving, hiding the information, don't you think it's disrespecting 70, 80 million of the people who elected him as a president, and he being the president and mandated in the election manifesto and won, he doesn't have any stand in even doing a cleaning of the society, and you just you can't even clean up this country? I mean, these are so many questions, not me, people have it. So we'll find out from our chairman what is that solution. Is it that things are happening right way or wrong way? And today it's like this, he does something, court order stops. So that means the checks and balances, is it the need of the hour to change the entire thing?
Siddharji, thank you everybody.
I hope this is the practicality.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely,
I hope,
absolutely. I agree with
something
you.
based on the president says common sense and IQ. Today I'm talking about with IQ and common sense, not me. What I hear from the people.
Yep.
And after he's done, if I could respond to that.
Sure.
So
please, thank you.
basically, like, let me tell you one thing. So thank you for this nice amendment of the immigration law, because we need to spread this message to the community out there. Now, see, basically, first of all, let me tell you that the Asian American Republican Coalition is working since 12-15 years. As you know, we have founded together.
Yep.
And we have been making a strong inroads into Asian Indian American communities about what is this country, what we should do, and how the laws should be followed. All kind of messages we are spreading. We are spreading the message also that we are the legal. We are living in this country. We are eating here, living here, bring up our families, and so please be loyal to this country and keep your laws for the motherland intact. But in the process, don't forget this nation which has given us so much. And that message is going. We are also creating awareness about the political candidates running for various elections. And as he said, that we have worked for President Trump in 2015 when he was coming down from the elevator in the Trump Tower in New York. And when I seen him, then we thought that this is the right person for this country. So we started working for it. And in 2020, I was in the Indian Voices for Trump, which was formed by the Trump campaign in the 2020. 24 also we worked very hard, and fortunately he's here. Now let us take some background that why all this has happened. In the previous 4 years of administration, about 21 million people crossed the US borders illegally. There are some people available at the board. They will advise them what to do, how to do. They were getting in. There are some people even they were not recorded by the border security force and other people. They were just crossing the border and coming inside. And as Anush said, that these people, most of the people, as President Trump also says very frequently, they are coming from mental asylums. They are criminals. They are hardcore rapists.
Gangs.
They are the gang people, and they have entered here. That these people have basically broken down the basic fabric of this country. See, we are all law-abiding people, and unfortunately, these people who doesn't know the system, what system is here, they do not know how the law works here, and they started doing whatever they think they used to do in the back home where they come from. And that has disturbed the entire thing. It has created a tremendous tsunami of the criminal cases in this country. Even the most of the people in America are they are the God-fearing people, they are religious people, they are law-abiding people. And when they are seeing this flow, they were really disturbed. And now, President Trump used to talk this particular problem in all his campaign speeches, that he is not only going to stop the illegal immigration, he is not only going to close the border, but he is also going to drive out all the illegal people who are staying in America for
the cleanup process. What other people
so many years. And you very rightly said, he has the mandate of 77 million people. Now 77 million people are electing a man to do what he is supposed to, what is expected by the American people.
Majority have accepted, he has won based on that, he has taken charge.
Yes.
And today as a common voter of a public, and if anybody is electing a president, any president highest position, if they are not able to do it tomorrow, what is the trust in future a common voter can have and believe the entire manifest a leader is saying? Nation wants to know.
now, so to supplement what you said, there are three branches of the government:
Yes, all are aware.
executive branch, judiciary branch, and a legislative branch. Okay. So now the three branch, the judiciary branch is intervening the executive branch. The legislative branch has made all the laws. Even those laws are being challenged. And in the name of, you take the Harvard. Now let me tell you this: why Harvard and other universities are being focused here? People from other countries, the students whose job is to study here, the students whose job is the visa granted to them was to study here, complete their mission, get back to their nation, or if the law permits here, they can continue to stay here. But what these guys did, they participate in protest, they participate in some kind of woke activities, they are taking the laws in the hand, they are ransacking the university buildings and places, and this is not we expect from the students. And that is why we are feeling that the people who don't have any privilege to not only to vote, but they don't have any say in the system, they do something which is really not acceptable.
Got it.
And then can I jump in now,
Sure,
if that's
please,
okay?
yeah.
Yes,
I don't
sure.
mean to
Okay,
cut
yeah.
you off. Is that
No,
okay?
that's okay.
Right, so obviously, my understanding is we want to help out our viewers here, because
Yes.
that's what we're here to do, and it's a great way to basically help out the community with get certain ideas. But we've crossed into a little bit of a debate, and I just want to
Yeah,
give
that's why we have.
Right, and I just
Better
want to give an
focus, yeah.
alternate take on it. My background, I was born in this country, right? My parents are Indian and Pakistani. They came here in 1973 and 1974. So to go to what Hemedji was talking about is that he said a lot of these people are coming from mental asylums and this, that. Well, if you go back to America's history, for when the British were coming here, many of them are documented coming from mental asylums, not just now, then. They were the ones who were considered the dissidents or the problem makers in England because they didn't want to deal with the C of E, which is the Church of England. They were the ones who came here who had criminal records themselves over there. That's a fact. So it's just not this generation. If you go back, nobody talks about it because, again, and I'm not promoting one way or the other, I'm not saying pro-Trump, I'm not saying anti-Trump, but I'm saying from a factual, historical, facts are something that can't be rejected. And one of those things is, if you really know your American history, is that at that particular time, many of those individuals had criminal records. And who are the first people? Hemedji just mentioned about students protesting. Well, one of our First Amendment rights is the right to protest. Nobody's saying do anything violent because that's when it turns criminal.
Yes.
Right? But one of the reasons we want to come here is we have an ability to voice our disagreement. Okay? The first settlers here who came hundreds of years ago were the biggest protesters of what was going on in England, and we had our own Revolutionary War in this country to fight against what the white Americans at that time thought was a problem. Now, from an immigration perspective, to tie in what you're saying, we know that obviously President Trump's wife, Melania, is a Slovenian immigrant. We know that Vice President Vance's wife is Indian, okay? So it's very interesting and ironic when you see people, and again, this is not an attack on anybody, just a different spin on it. When you have a base of people saying that, look, it seems that this administration is to be anti-immigrant, but yet it's almost a little bit confusing or hypocritical on the side because one person's wife is an immigrant who's the president and the other one is Indian, okay? So what does that mean? Well, certainly the president said beforehand he wants to clean this up, and he has taken action
But
on
let me
that.
tell you one thing.
So-
There's
so
legal
let me-
immigration.
So,
They came with the
let
through
me-
legal.
let me-
He's talking about more of illegal.
Right, correct, and that's what I
want
want
to you.
Right.
See, basically, First Amendment right is given to the, it is to my knowledge, because there are some counter argument that the Constitution gives the right to all the residents of US, which I really do not agree with that. But then it's a debatable point.
Right.
In no way the Constitution has written that this Constitution is applicable to illegal also. This Constitution is applicable to the criminals also. Number one, let me correct. So lot of people, even in the I'm watching some MSNBC news anchors and even Fox and CNN and all that. Some of them are also raising a question the First Amendment rights are not given to the student. Their job is to study here, fulfill their purpose, and they have to get out of here. Now,
But that's not the law, though.
That's not the law.
maybe I mean
Due process. Remember one thing, due
No,
process.
due process is not applicable because when they come here, they do not follow any process. They have not followed any process of legal thing here. And why the due process should be allowed to them when they are being deported?
Because the Supreme Court has said so, that's why.
No, see,
They have to honor
this
the
is like a
judicial-
hypothetical
Yeah.
kind of thing, according
Right.
to me. They have entered this country illegally
Right.
without following any due process, without following any law.
Right.
And
But
if
let's
the
do-
people,
let's
But I want to
Yes,
answer that because that's a
yes.
great question.
Yeah.
So you just talked about checks and balances, right? Currently, the Supreme Court is 6-3. 6 of the justices are conservative on President Trump's side, presumably. So the liberal side is outnumbered, 6-3. If something major comes up, it's going to get knocked down. As of right now, it's still legal. I mean, we could disagree with it. That's your right to disagree. But the law is that.
Law is law,
So if you're
yeah.
talking about checks and balances,
Nobody's
right?
above the law.
Correct.
Yes.
Maybe you'll have a Republican, then you'll have a Democrat, maybe you'll have an independent, whatever the case is, right? So whether we like it or not, that's what it is right now, right?
See,
The
they-
other
they-
thing, no, but please, 1 second, right? The thing is, when we're talking about illegal immigration, right? What you have 250 years ago, there was no Immigration and Nationality Act. It's not what it was today. Do you think, for example, the slave owners that were 99% white, who illegally brought over African Americans here, did they follow any visa process or anything? No. But they benefited from that slave labor, and nobody says anything about it. How do you think this country was built? It was built on illegal immigration. That's number one. Number two, the fact of the matter remains is that we are thankful. I'm thankful to be here. I was born here. My parents were thankful to be here. They followed the rules, right? We want people to follow the rules. It's a good thing, right? Of course, I agree with you on that. But the thing is, and I said this last week as well, as great as America is, not everything always has a number one meaning. So, for example, why do you think in the 60s and 70s so many Desis and so many Indians came here? Because after the Vietnam War, women were not in the workforce compared to other countries, and men died in the Vietnam War, and they didn't have a high school education, the ones that came back. So in order to compete with Russia when it comes into the Cold War and communism versus American capitalism and democracy, we had to pull the best and brightest out of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka.
Brain
And
drain.
the brain drain of all the doctors and engineers. So we said, hey, come here and join the American dream. But at the same time, we sucked out the smartest people here. That's how we all ended up here. And it benefited this American society. But at the same time, it wasn't out of pure altruism. It was the immigration there at that time was left loosey-goosey in order to benefit the country. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to look at all the historical
So
vantage points.
basically,
Yes,
I agree, Sandi. The only thing is, American legal system is not equipped to resort to the due process of 21 million illegal people. The system is, even there are so much pending cases and so many backlog of the cases.
Right.
And basically, this is not possible to go for, to allow everyone to have due process. And now when the president, as very rightly said, President Trump has been elected as a president on the commitment of the agenda, what he spoke in the campaign, that he is going.
Election manifesto.
That's the election manifesto. He promised
Because
to
people
the
will question tomorrow when they go for elections
Right,
again.
so
How far back
every
does it go,
time.
though?
Let me add a little bit to that.
How far
Now,
back does it go, though?
No, even Clinton and other Obama, they also deported millions and millions of people.
Obama was
Why-
part of the deporter in chief.
Yeah, so why Trump is being isolated? Why Trump is being singled out? And see, very important thing is that when these people, even I was reading one of the articles and they said that there are a maximum number of injunctions against the executive orders of President Trump compared to George Bush, compared to Obama, compared to Clinton. Why he is being, that is what you call it, like Trump.
I think we are going in a different
Yeah.
direction here.
I think we
Yeah,
are
no,
going
no,
in a
no,
different
I don't wanna get
Pro
too
Trump
far.
and
Yeah.
let's
Yeah,
not go
yeah,
there.
we
I'm
will-
trying
we
to
will-
say
we
that
will-
this
no,
is
no,
this is what
no,
happened.
Hemant,
Yeah,
hold on.
Hemant,
We will have a different debate on that,
Right,
but let's
exactly.
focus on
Immigration,
our
all
immigration and criminal immigration matters on foreign students and foreign workers who are residing legally. My biggest thinking is there's so much of illegality has happened in the past, 21 million, what he was saying. there's so much of fear has happened, they're being deported. So what happened is, since the word is immigration, illegal immigration has turned to immigration.
Right.
So that's how even these people are also falling, and small DUI issue, people are getting deported. Small, like, like an out of status issue,
Right.
people are getting, not only that, if they go back to India or any other, their destination country, Pakistan or
Right.
Russia or anything, and they are in the fear that they cannot even come back here. They are not even going to their own people,
Yeah.
blood relation, deaths also, and their marriages, so many things. That is a very mental stress agony.
Sure.
Why do we have to be in this situation? That's why we are here. Our panel is here to give you support, give you a solution. What is legally, they also cannot create anything. They can only give a solution based on some existing laws, and which they can make you aware. And sometimes if you come across this situation, how do you best handle it? Supposing some nice guy knocks your door, you're a legal guy, what you should be doing, what are your rights, and what you should be doing at the first step. And you should be calling your attorney, who you have in your place, all those things we will come to know. Before I get on, I want to pass on to my co-host to have a question.
Yeah. Actually, I have a question for our legal experts. So for our viewers, they're definitely learning so many things from this show. But apart from that, if they want any legal help, how can they approach you? Can you please explain?
Certainly. So, again, everybody, good evening. Everybody, namaste, assalamu alaikum, sat sri akal, whatever you subscribe to. My name is Hassan Chaudhry. The quickest way to get a hold of me is my cell phone. Anybody can call me at all times. It's 732-552-7882. If you Google me, you'll find me everywhere, and I'm more than happy to help. I deal with our community on a daily basis, and I've been doing this for 20 years, so it's actually my pleasure to take part in this, because we don't have very many people that served in a criminal background. I served as law enforcement as a prosecutor in 2 different counties. I was a certified instructor for the Ocean County Police Academy, and I worked for the Division of Criminal Justice to do certain things. I myself am a graduate of the State Police and the FBI Citizens Academy. I served in the Top Gun program from the Attorney General's office, and I've handled everything from murder down to traffic cases. And I'm our only board certified South Asian criminal trial attorney out of about 185 lawyers in the state. So quickest way is Google, you have my cell phone number, and it's my pleasure to help out. So that's the best way to get hold of me.
I started my law firm
Yeah.
in 2012. Before that, I worked in the corporate sector as an immigration attorney.
Okay.
And 2012, I started it. And ever since, I opened my first office in New York, Queens. So nobody knows corporate immigration over there. People only know marriage-based cases,
Yeah.
asylum cases, cancellation of removal, deportation defense. So you're not going to find too many attorneys who have experience both in the corporate side and in the court side, basically deportation defense. I was lucky enough to have an experience in both the fields of immigration law. So my number to reach me is 646-492-9700. That's my direct cell number, which comes to my office.
Okay, so coming back to the point is, we were talking about is, first of all, I would like to know what mistakes could then trigger into criminal. And second thing is, tomorrow, if any ICE or USCIS officer or anybody knocks their door, even their work location or anything, what should they do?
So I'll take the first
Yeah,
part, you
exactly.
take the
Go
second.
ahead, yeah.
So again,
I don't know how this question is distributed.
that's
between-
fine.
No, it's an excellent
We-
question.
we've done this
the one
before,
thing I
so
can-
we know
I-
how-
yes.
So you touched and you took the words right out of my mouth about 2 minutes ago. For the viewers at home, the most, and I said this last week in a lecture we're doing, the most important line you could say to anybody in the United States is, "I'm going to call my lawyer." And you touched upon it. That is the most dangerous and strongest, most powerful line in America, because not that we're scary, but for lawyers generally, people tend to be fearful of them. And when you're dealing with law enforcement, it's no different, because whether you agree with it or not, legal or not, our Fifth Amendment right allows us to remain silent under the Constitution, right? So we don't have to implicate ourselves or confess. We as Desi people, unfortunately, we want to be law-abiding. We come from good historical
Yes,
roots
no doubt.
where we want to G, okay, thank you, authority.
Yes.
We don't want to contest them. However, at the same time, we end to talk too much, and then we end up confessing, and then you end up getting us.
Yep.
And that's not a good thing, right? So first off, you could be polite, you could be kind, calling the officer for jive, I don't care. The point is, do not talk about the allegation. Say, you know what, you do what you have to do. I'm going to call my lawyer, or you can call him or her. Here's their
But
number.
most of the time they come in
So-
the morning, 4 o'clock or something, where lawyer is not available, what should they do?
They can still say, well, if
You're
they're
talking
going to
about
arrest
ICE
them,
now. You're
yeah,
talking
you're
about
talking about
ICE.
ICE.
He's,
I'm saying law enforcement in general.
Right.
ICE, an ICE agent, Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office detective. You could have a lieutenant, for some reason, show up from the Edison Police Department, the Middlesex County Sheriffs, the FBI from Newark or Red Bank. It doesn't matter. Point is, okay, if you're going to arrest me, fine, no problem. We'll deal with it legally. But I'm not going to make any statement about it. I have my absolute right to remain silent. That's what I'm going to do. So that's the first
So
part.
that is
Very good. First
under,
point.
under Article 5.
Under the Fifth Amendment
Fifth
of the
Amendment.
first 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights, that is so important in criminal law.
So
The
they
Fourth
have a
Amendment-
right to be
Miranda
silent,
rights?
not even,
Correct.
Yeah.
You have your Miranda rights. You know, you always watch on TV, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against the court of law, that whole thing. Anytime you watch any show, that's a case that came from the Supreme Court out of 1966. It was a case out of Arizona. The gentleman was from a Mexican background, Ernesto Arturo Miranda, but that's a whole other thing. The point is, you stay silent, and it doesn't matter at 4 o'clock or it doesn't matter at that point. As long as you don't say anything, that's fine. And then you have to have a news or somebody else on speed dial for the situation.
I mean,
family.
especially for the RFAs, complicated, and the moment the
Let's
fraud,
keep
yes,
the ICE
yes,
arrest
ICE,
first of
okay,
all.
yeah.
Right.
So
So this is the second part.
what
Yeah.
he was mentioning, what's President Trump's biggest problem with Biden administration? Catch and release. You know what catch and release is?
Yes.
Okay. So
Including
these
South
illegal,
Africa.
and when you say these people are crossing the border illegally, yes, they are. But they are getting processed at the border. They are given an NTA, which is notice to appear. Here's your next court date. Please come and let's process you accordingly.
And nobody
handle-
goes back to court
Yeah,
right
hold on,
away.
let's do that. So the problem is most of these people they never go back to the court.
Exactly.
That's President Trump's biggest problem. That's why he called it catch and release. Okay.
So, but he stopped it, Trump.
Yes.
He stopped it.
Yes.
President
Most of
Trump
it-
has already stopped
Right,
that catch
but
and
here's
release.
the thing. A lot of these people, they are asking or seeking asylum when they come to this country, okay? Asylum is a process where America grants you permanent residency and citizenship based on your fear of persecution in your home country. It could be based on religion, your political opinion, being a member of a social group, a couple other things. But from India, most of the time it's a political opinion.
Mexico cartel gangs.
Correct,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah,
correct.
you're right,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. So having said that, now your question was, what should person do when ICE knocks at, like 4 in the
So
morning?
even
4 a.m.?
USCIS officer comes for
Correct.
RFA
And also,
or
I want to add
anything.
one thing to when you said President Trump has been saying that a lot of these drug charges, people
Yeah.
and criminals are coming in. I never used to believe his rhetoric because I used to feel it was so exaggerated point. Okay, and I don't think it's 21 billion. It's less than that, but still, we don't have to debate on that. But now I see I'm dealing with it. I just got a call today where this person has an Interpol red notice. He's from India, North India, and I'm representing him on June 3rd. And I have seen so many other these guys coming from North India, especially Punjab and Haryana. It's a lot of gang violence over there
of
now.
course.
And I literally know a lot of these people who are settled in California now and other parts of the country, and they are operating their criminal syndicate, basically living in the United States, getting all these things done over there,
And not to be stereotypical with Punjabis, it's a trucking business oftentimes.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So that was a part to it. So I agree with you when you say a lot of, yes, not a lot of, but still, there are a lot of people who, America doesn't go back to your home country, they're going to check your record first before they let you enter in. No, they just, if you are seeking asylum, all right, come on in, we process you, this is your next court date.
Not
So
only the
the
beauty is,
system is misused at
Oh,
so
yes,
great
you're,
extent.
you're right on that. I
So-
mean, this
so-
country
so-
has a very, very generous nature, and people basically took advantage
but
of
the
that.
things have changed for quite some time now.
Right.
And because when
See.
they found the criminal activities, gang rapes and all kind of thing, that's why they have to now rise to the occasion and make sure that they are.
You were talking about British, talk about Fidel Castro.
Right. Okay. So
Cubans.
and this is what the irony of the situation is too, right? Obviously, we have a great panel here. I respect everybody, right? You came here. We were having a conversation. You wanted the American dream, right? But just as again, you're in support of this policy, right? There's a big base of the president who would have a problem with somebody who looks like you or like me
Right.
or like an accent with you, and they'd be like, "How is this person or such and such person part of our party?" And that's where a lot of the divide comes, where you believe in the principles, which is fine.
So when ICE comes to your door and they knock your door at 4 a.m., right? Well, there are two things. First of all, they have to come with a warrant. They can't just come in. Now, there are two kinds of warrant. One is judicial warrant, and the other one is ICE warrant. Judicial warrant is signed by the judge.
Okay.
ICE warrant is signed by some immigration officer, ICE officer.
Administrative.
Okay, right, exactly. So when they come with the ICE warrant, you don't need to let them in. All right. If you let them in,
They
then
don't have
have
to
all
open the door.
You don't need to open the door. Yes.
Hello,
you need
viewers.
to ask for a warrant.
You
first.
don't have to open a door even. Please make a note.
On
And
this type of
also
work.
remember, privacy matters. Where are you? Are you in your car? Are you in the office? Are you in a public domain? Are you in your home? That also matters. Okay. So once
Somebody's keep on knocking the door. Can they call 911?
yes,
Those
of course
are
they
federal
can.
agent, they have a badge and
Well,
everything.
I don't know if 911 is gonna be able to handle just because some
I
ICE
mean,
officer.
somebody
is,
will be scared
Because
tomorrow.
the
They don't have to open the
tomorrow
door.
there are about 21 million illegals. Out of that, somebody could come in a corporate.
But the thing is, people get
I mean,
scared
one has
and
to
they
be-
let
one has to
the
be,
ICE
yeah.
officer come in, and once the ICE officer is in, at that time now he has all the power to check your house.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
And with the judicial warrant, of course, you have to let them in.
Right.
There's no way you can stop that.
First of all, don't break any law.
Of course.
Don't break any law. Be here for the purpose and try to achieve that purpose, like student visa or visitor visa, whatever you have.
Right.
Never overstay or extend your visa. Whatever visa you have, it is expired, you should go before that. And very important thing is that in order to stay away from all this trouble and botheration, we have, everybody has to understand that if they follow the laws, if they are living here legally and with all the rights here, no power in this country will be able to disturb them, because they have all kind of laws, they have all kind of protection, they have all kind of rights under the
Let me tell you,
Constitution.
right now there
Okay.
is so much
On a
of
lighter note,
mongering. Yeah.
you're not supposed to render any legal advice. You're not a lawyer.
No,
Yeah.
I'm suggesting. I'm
Yeah.
suggesting.
Yeah.
I'm suggesting.
And number two, what you said is not always true, because now you see people
Yes.
who were convicted years and years and years ago of murder, right, have now been exonerated or free through DNA evidence.
Right.
So it's not always true. There are innocent people who get convicted, and there are guilty people that walk free.
Right.
So, big example, I'm not commenting one way or the other, O.J. Simpson case. Everybody
And I
thinks he
want
was
to
guilty
keep
beyond
this
belief.
disclaimer for
Yeah.
this program. Please do not consider this anything we just discussed it
Yeah.
as a legal
As a
advice.
legal advice.
I know.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Including
Every case is different. So, we want to have your
Right.
case to be listened. Call one of us,
Yes.
and then we'll help you.
This
out.
is only to facilitate, to make you aware what are your basic rights, and to just get a smooth, little bit pacification, nothing else.
Absolutely.
Right.
So basically, you should know basic things. And at the end of the day, nobody can change the law. Once the Supreme Court has given, and even anybody has to follow. That's how the system is.
Yep.
So we have to follow the system, but at the same time, there are so many things which we are not aware, where it can give us some solution. That's how we are here with the top immigration attorneys in this country. We already seen it. Now the biggest problem is not only this immigrations and other thing, the green card holders, there's a big surge all of a sudden has happened to go for citizenship, because they are saying, hey, if I get caught in a drink, I'm also going to be deported.
Yeah.
So there is some sort of supposing some criminal or domestic domestic violence case or anything, it could be anything. Even they are also in a fear mongering. So such a green card, earlier they used to feel that as part of citizenship.
Right.
Why they are in the situation? Is it true that is happening? And also I read that when they are coming to this country, green card holder, they could be, if you don't have this document, you could be deported. So many things are happening.
Right.
So
So
again,
what is your
There's
take
too
on
much
that?
of speculation, first of all. Please
Exactly.
understand that, okay? And if you want to have the right advice given to you, please contact a specialized immigration attorney, experienced one. Anyway, so yes, you're right.
You are the best. We are going to give you a number of
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So viewers, let's encourage our show people so that if they get a lot of calls, they can have a vote and more attorneys can come.
Yep.
And TV5 and manatv, in collaboration with ARC, we can do wonders and we can bring in more topics. The moment that situation is cooking up, we are going to come up with the show. We are going to tell you the alternatives or possible ways where you can get benefited.
And yes, if they have some time and convenience, we can bring them back if there are any.
No, of course, yes. This one-
So the whole point here is that you guys are doing honestly altruistic work, because it's to have a discussion and knowledge, right? This isn't left, right, Republican,
No, no, no,
Democrat,
no.
Independent.
It's-
What everybody's doing, we have a mix of everybody. here.
Basically, let me tell you one thing. As far as we are concerned, we didn't even invite them as an ARC. It is only the ARC has initiative of civic education,
education.
and where they go to the community and they help the people. And this is like a bipartisan basis.
Exactly.
That's how the ARC representation. It's not because of the Republican or
No.
inclination.
It's to your
No,
credit that
we are
you-
not
It's a
invited.
civic
based on that.
education initiative.
Civic education initiative. That's how we brought them into this show.
100%. It's to your
So to
credit.
answer
that
your
you're doing it.
question for the green card holders, right?
Yes.
Now, every single client of mine who has a green card, I prompt them to go for the citizenship.
Why?
Get your citizenship as soon as possible.
That means they're in the fear mongering. So that means
Exactly.
we are
You are still vulnerable as long as you have a green card and you're not a U.S. citizen. There are
Right.
certain rights which are only given to U.S. citizens, okay? Even you or U.S. citizen can be denaturalized. But yes,
Oh my goodness.
yes,
Really?
exactly.
That,
But
that,
only-
that
only-
fear
only-
also
only-
happened for some people.
Correct, but only in few cases where first you have achieved or received your citizenship on a fraud basis. You have lied.
I see.
Okay, or you have lied on a green card application, okay,
Ah,
which you
I
have never
see.
told the government. All right, now, deportable crimes, which I said, they are still, I mean, when I said the IIR and IRA, which Clinton signed, crimes which are of moral turpitude or aggravated felonies. These are the crimes where green card holders can be deported under, okay? And it takes like, lot of time to get them back to the track, but if it's like a crime like you would, explain more on that, serious crimes, they're deportable, of course. They're vulnerable.
Right.
Got it.
Well, we have to understand in our country too, right? World War II was 1939 to 1945, right?
Yes.
Even during India, Pakistan partition, and then later with Bangladesh, I don't care if you're on the Indian side, the Pakistani side, whatever, we knew there was a great deal of immigration problems going on, crossing back and forth. Not only that, in America, we know as part of our sad part of our history that the United States, during that time, during Pearl Harbor, we started interning Japanese in concentration camps. That's in some people's lifetimes. 1947 partition, 1945 the war. We have people in this country that are alive and still may remember that or have ancestors. That law, to this day, is still viable. And the president could try to invoke it, and not to get onto the immigration side of it, we saw it shot down a little bit, but what's going on, and I think why the fear-mongering is happening, is because let's say, for example, a group is singled out, Indians, Pakistanis, Middle Easterners, Jamaicans, whatever the case may be, that law is still viable. If that goes through, and under the threat of national, or under the guise rather of national security, what about if everybody's locked up, right? What's the challenge on that? Because national security is so broad, especially post 9/11, there's a great deal of powers that can be used. Then what's going to happen at that point? And that's what people are fearing, that's what they're seeing, and I think that's what's also leading to a surge in what's going on. I mean, my wife is Indian, she wasn't born in the United States, she's a lawyer, and she's a US citizen, but she wasn't born here, right? So who knows what's going to happen at that particular point. So these are all things that are part of this ingredient.
Got it.
When I talk of the crimes committed, I'm not talking about the crimes committed only on the soil of the United States. A crime which has been committed anywhere in the
Worldwide.
world.
Oh,
worldwide.
Yes,
By green card holder.
correct.
But the problem is sometimes, sorry to state that in India, anything is sometimes, if you know some influential,
Right.
you could even make it like it's a criminal intent.
Exactly.
Of course.
Something, you just land up and they do something.
Right.
I mean, like
That's why on green card
so-
application, if you see, there's every single question they can come up with. Have you ever been arrested? Have you ever committed a crime? Oh my God.
So many
Almost like
questions.
But
100
the thing
questions
is,
which you have to answer.
at that point of signing that
Correct,
letter,
exactly.
Not after
And then
that.
they later
Yes,
find
that-
out
yes.
that you lied on this
At that
application.
particular point prior to that.
Correct,
Yes,
exactly.
yes, got it. So you have any other questions before we conclude in a?
Yeah, I would like to know, is there any documents in particularly that the families has to be ready in case of emergency?
Emergency in the sense, all of a sudden, and she's driving, somebody is driving an immigration,
Right.
and he has met with an accident, and he may be having two fears. One is that consequences of that, plus what is to my status, what will happen
Yeah.
to me.
I think I
That's
got
something,
your point, what
that's
exactly
like
you
that.
were
There could be so many
trying
examples.
to
like
ask
that.
Yeah.
is basically
Yes.
what documents do I have to carry if something happens and immigration ICE comes to me and asks for my identity, right?
Yeah.
So as an American citizen, by law, you're not supposed to carry anything, okay? But now there's so much fear and anxiety among the people.
Exactly.
Even they're saying, US citizens have to keep a copy of their passport or the passports with them all the time. That's not true. But just on a precautionary measure, you can have it because of the news
But
stories
the problem
Yeah.
that are
See,
spreading around.
Yeah.
It's just more of it, for me, it's like more of the fear and anxiety is being spread.
See, the
But
problem is,
I will supplement what
And
you say.
hold on. And for the green card holders, of course, you need a copy of the green card in your pocket all the time. And rest, we are non-immigrant visas. People are on H1s, L1s. Of course, they have to carry their copy of the approved petition and I-94 with them all the time.
yes,
I hope that answers your question.
So,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
no,
that
no, in
was-
addition to that, instead of carrying passport and everything, now there is a real ID.
Right.
Which the
That's
rules
okay,
are
that's-
already
that is for
published. So
traveling
real
and
ID,
everything.
if
That's
you have
okay, yeah.
driver's
So that's
license,
not,
which is a
yeah,
real
that's
ID,
okay, Hemant,
that,
yeah.
that is done with the passport
No,
and
no,
everything.
I understand. That is only for traveling, basically.
Right.
So not for the.
No, even for the local police stops
that's,
also.
that's something different. No, that is okay. That's only for traveling imports. The basic thing is now it's good to have. The reason is, if a police stops you, how does he know that you are a citizen? How does he know you are a green card? How does he know that you are illegal? So it's our own interest to carry that Otherwise, what happens is we hear something, so many theories, they're being arrested and they're there because they presume that you're also part of the illegal or whatever it is. So that's why, they didn't have that clarification at that time. Probably they must have undergone, but because of coming into the news so much, so that could trigger into so many questions in my mind.
But at the state level, currently in this state administration, they're not supposed to ask the immigration status. That's what the problem is now between this governor and the president. They're arguing about back and forth. And in fact, we just saw it played out in media when Mayor and now gubernatorial candidate Ras Baraka was arrested, and then 13 days later, Trump interim appointed United States attorney dismissed the charge, and the judge, basically the federal judge, really gave, for lack of a better term, a verbal thrashing to the U.S. Attorney's Office for what are you doing? You just arrested him, turned it into a circus, and then dismissed the charges.
Right.
So again, there's good people involved in this, but it's a lot more complicated, and unfortunately, our country, we want to be on the right path, but I think we've like gone to a place right now where a lot of people can't even have this conversation. That's why I'm glad we have these differing points.
Yeah.
We can do this in a very educational, calm way.
Yes.
And I hope you continue panels like this.
Yep.
So before we conclude the show, any final message you want to give it to our audience? Because
Sure.
there are a lot of people
Especially
who are
to
in
the
fear
young
of the-
immigrants.
Yes.
Not only anybody, anybody, including whether they are legal immigrant, including green card also. There are a lot
Right.
of even our citizen people are also in a fear situation because so many things. What is your advice you want to give it?
Well, first, of course, as Hassan said, know your rights, right? Don't talk. I have a right to an attorney. My addition to that is assert your rights. Don't only know your rights, assert your rights. Do not talk.
Excellent.
That's asserting your rights, basically, okay? So I need my lawyer. I don't want to talk. Do not answer any questions. Keep it for the lawyer.
Okay,
Right.
but they have to contact the lawyer.
Of course,
but
yes.
they will be undergoing
Another
the
problem, which is different from his field is, when he says in his world, I need a lawyer, the questioning stops right over there. In immigration law,
Right.
it does not.
Right.
Yes.
They don't care if you have a lawyer.
They don't
don't
care.
care if
Right.
you want to have a lawyer.
Yeah.
But at least don't implicate yourself in a crime. Keep your
Correct.
mouth shut, so
Yes.
don't go to prison and then
Right.
get deported.
So,
But the other question comes is, the immigration side is, when there is a H-1B, RFE or anything, there is a fraud prevention. They could be ending up going to the client visits,
Right.
FDNS visits.
Yes.
And what would they do at the time? What are the,
I
Well,
think
there-
there are some
some-
cases they have been arrested there.
No, this is
While
different.
fingerprinting
This is
or
not,
something,
no.
these are specifics, please. Yes.
first of all, it's more on the employer side, or not an employee, okay?
Yes.
An employer files the application, H-1B petition, saying that, okay, this particular person is going to be working on this particular site.
Yes.
And if he's not, these are employer side
But sometimes
violations.
work from
More-
home. They may be at work from home because nobody is going to the work.
Right.
And they're at the home.
Well, obviously,
I mean, that location
COVID
is disclosed in the LCA.
As I said again, this is a discretionary matter now. Okay, there's
Okay.
no law which says that if you file the petition saying that you're going to be working on this particular site and now you're working from home, you will be not persecuted. No, but it's a discretionary matter. At
But
this point.
sometimes what happens is, if the work location is within the MSA, you don't have to disclose in LCA.
Right.
I mean, that is the law.
No, you.
So then what do you do?
You cannot
then?
file an
Yeah.
LC unless you file a place of work.
Place of work, but the problem is, the work from home, if it is within the MSA of the work location, you don't have to disclose in the
Right,
LCA.
right.
So then if that is the case, if they walk into the work location, and if the guy is sitting in the home, which he has a right, and unfortunately,
Well,
people are working from home.
In that case, I would put the address of the office where it's centrally located. Okay, which is a corporate office of the company, whatever it is. So that's
Okay.
what I would do.
Right.
Well, in that case, I would say the person works from home and then he goes to office few days. That's manageable.
Good.
As long as the employer supports this contention with a letter.
And
Okay.
my final thoughts on
Yes,
this.
Ishan, I want to ask, I want to tell my viewers, which are very concerned.
Right.
What are the top triggering situations could lead into criminal offense? So that our people are, as such, are very conservative, very fear-mongers, they want to do the right things. At least they will avoid those situations.
The biggest one right now, I can tell you in our Desi, in our South Asian community that I'm dealing with is domestic violence. So something as simple as a fight between a husband and wife,
Including kids.
including
I'm
kids.
adding.
Including kids, he's right.
They're more vulnerable. They
For
will say
example-
that, Dad, I'm going to call 911. So it's better not touch the kids.
Yep.
So what happens is that if a husband and wife get into an argument, and let's say in a fit of anger, the wife says, okay, you're verbally abusing me, I'm going to call 911, and the husband takes the phone away and grabs it. Next thing you know, she gets the phone and says, oh, now I have a little scratch on my wrist. A little scratch that a cat can make. Under the new domestic violence laws that became in effect January 1st, 2017 under Governor Christie at the time, what happens is the police, through the Attorney General's office, have the authority to charge the person on a warrant. Why is that important for our community? Is because on a warrant, it means you're going to be taken to the jail mandatorily for 24 to 48 hours. So you're seeing old Indian grandmothers, Pakistani aunts, Bangladeshi babysitters, it doesn't matter, are going to the jail with hardened criminals. Okay, and our jail in Middlesex is right off of Route 130.
Yeah.
It's in North Brunswick, right? And what happens is they're sitting in that jail, completely losing their mind. When the police come, the wife, or generally the wife, not to be stereotypical, but sometimes the husband, the wife says, "Wait, what are you doing? You're taking away my husband?" It's like, "I just wanted you to take him out of the house right now." I was like, no, this is the law. He's going to the jail now. He has a criminal charge. And now they're sitting here going, oh, they get their fingerprints done. Oh, maybe there's a warrant from India that nobody knew about. Maybe he's got some other issue going on, and now they have to have an immigration lawyer, and it's a big, big problem. So domestic violence, obviously call the police if you're in trouble. But remember, if you do call the police and you're not a citizen, no, don't avoid. If you're ever getting hurt, of course call the police. Nobody should be abused ever. But please know, if you call the police, it's going to trigger this thing regarding immigration. And if you're not a U.S. citizen, there are going to be ramifications, no doubt about it.
I'm an immigration lawyer, but I'm going to tell you something. When these things happen, when police gets involved, I've seen a lot of divorces happening. Houses broken, homes broken. Because police got involved. The first thing cops gonna ask each other, "Do you want a restraining order?" Man, it was just a simple fight, and now you're pushing it to a level where husband and wife are legally being represented by lawyers. 6 months down the line.
So our advice is for a momentary short tempers, please do not call.
Cool off
Try
if you
to
can.
Exactly.
that's getting into more problem, because whoever wins again. Whoever is the loser will regret more.
Right.
So because of our mentality,
Well, nobody
we know
wins in this situation,
So
first
nobody
of
would
all.
like.
Right.
So please
Yeah.
avoid, respect.
Except
if
for
you have
divorce,
something
I think,
happens, make a decision next day, not on the same day.
And more holistically, just very quickly, the thing that we could do is all about education, right? Whether you support through your words, through your knowledge, through money, supporting organizations like this, do this. Please don't do your Google research. If you have a stroke, don't Google it. Don't become WebMD.
No
Don't become-
ChatGPT.
Yeah, right. Don't become ChatGPT. Actually go to the professionals, because I know sometimes people have monetary issues. They're scared. Maybe they have a language problem. There's plenty of us lawyers right now that are born here or born overseas that speak the language.
Yes,
And-
son.
Yes.
Let me ask you one thing. Let's go to this is the first point you very well
Right.
said. The next point is, what is that could trigger into a criminal? Is that the drink and drive? Is it going to trigger?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
You're absolutely. I have every single case that's involved with
But
me.
if the state law says the police, yes, you have a right. That means they should shut down the entire public, pubs and everything. Don't you think they are going out of the business?
Well, let me. Hold on. That's such an interesting.
the
Hold on.
Are you
No, let me
not-
answer this.
Are
Let
you
me
not
answer
killing
this.
the local economy?
No.
People are losing
No,
jobs.
let me answer this.
It's the
What is
one
this
who
happening?
gets caught. Remember that.
Okay, let me tell
It's
you
the one
something.
who gets caught.
You asked such a beautiful question. I could speak about this for a week. Real quick, right? Could the NYPD stand outside Wall Street and arrest every single non-minority who's drinking and driving after the stock market? They could. They could.
They
Of
could.
course
They
they
could.
could.
They could.
Because I can guarantee
But they
not
don't
to
do it, but they don't.
stereotypical.
They don't.
But why? Why don't they do it?
Probable cause.
No,
No.
businesses may be supporting them. They have checks
No, no,
behind,
no,
maybe.
no,
no.
That's one.
Oh, wow. I'm right.
Number two, again, not to be stereotypical, but I taught at the police academy, so I understand how this works. Number two, those people, if they're working on Wall Street, they can afford the high-priced lawyers like maybe Anuj, or maybe myself, or maybe somebody older than this. But where do they go instead then? They go down to the local pub on Route 27, where people might not be as educated, or might not have that much money, or might not be U.S. citizens who can't afford the lawyer. Who's the easier target to fight right now, right? Is one group of people, maybe it looks like they're committing more
Yes.
crimes, but is that the truth, or is it where you're policing? That's that. And
Perception versus reality.
100%. Last thing I want to leave is that because we're talking about a South Asian community, I'll give the example of when India and Pakistan and Bangladesh were part of the British Empire, or property of the British
How about
Empire.
shoplifting?
Shoplifting too.
Shoplifting
of course,
also.
right. Yes.
Wow.
Okay, so
How
you-
about road accident? Hitting some other car?
hit and run counts
Hit
too?
and run.
Yes.
Not
No,
Right,
the
but-
points are
Pure
okay.
accident. No,
Points
pure
are
ac-
okay, but the thing is criminal.
If you hit and run and somebody gets
His
injured,
leg is
that's
his
criminal.
leg is fractured.
Right.
Other guys.
If there's hit and run that causes bodily injury, that's criminal. If it's hit and run where there's no injury, that's traffic. But both can still trigger an immigration
Right.
problem.
I see.
Right. And again, last thing is that We worked collectively at the time, India, to oust the British. That's a fact. We
How
all know
about
that.
faking the resume?
want me to answer this
How about
question?
faking the resume and faking the documents and getting a jobs? Nowadays, it's the most is happening right now.
It's happening for
is it a
20
crim-
years.
No,
It's happened
I know
for
that.
25
If there's a
years.
criminal
Like,
law,
there
that's
also
a different
I've been
laws are
working with
there.
the
But right
consulting
now,
firm for the last 25 years.
but if any person is caught, is it a criminal?
If the state
Yes.
law says it's criminal, then it's criminal. If there's a federal law that says it's criminal, then it's criminal. So it depends. It's on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
If you apply for a gun and you lie on there, that's obviously a criminal offense. You can be prosecuted. It's a fourth-degree crime for lying on that. If, for example, there's some federal program where you're applying for a military job and you lied about something,
Right.
that would be criminal. If it's something for PNC Bank, it might not be criminal. It all depends on a case-by-case
Right.
basis.
State law differs.
Hello viewers, you are watching a very interesting discussion where so much of fear is mongering among our Indian or Asian or minority community minds. We are here to take out your fear. From fear to fearless, we want to make it. That's why ARC has come forward. They have a division called Civic Education. They want to educate the people. What is Constitution? What is US laws? What is the US? What is your basic rights? And what is your so many basic things. They want to do tell about you. I mean, like legislation. So many things they want to educate. So every time, as part of civic education, we are going to bring in the best panel and sharp minds and the best solution providers. We will bring to the show. Today, we brought on criminal and immigration matters, the most intelligent and sharp and brilliant and popular, and it's very difficult to reach. They're in our studio. They're willing to share their cell phone numbers. My humble request, don't bother them unless you really need them, and send a message first. Let's respect. They're having a great, don't call them in the midnights. Sometimes, if you are in trouble, that's a different situation. They're so nice. So let's encourage, and we as a community together, we can make a difference. ARC is for you. They're not for Republican. If it's Republican, we wouldn't have conducted show. It's a purely bipartisan civic education basis. They're doing this. manatv and TV5, they came forward. You do it. We will show to the world what are your basic rights. End of the day, we want you to be successful and fulfill your American dream. So we will stay and get connected with one more guest, more topics. Stay tuned. This is Sridhar Chillara signing off. We will come back right with another hot topic. Maybe this panel or some other panel or maybe bigger panel. See you soon.